Associated Press.
Secretary General from the Associated Press. Could you say what you believe the most critical areas that the U.S. The reassurance initiative dollars should be spent on? And also, what do you think other alliance members now should do when it comes to reinforcing European defense? Thank you.
Firstly, I think the U.S. reassurance package will reinforce the readiness action plan we have decided to prepare for the summit. We will, of course, further work on this, but as I understand the American proposals, this reassurance package can be used to finance the pre-positioning of equipment and supplies. It can be used to finance enhanced exercises, just to mention a couple of examples. So I think this will be a very important financial contribution to realize the vision of a readiness action plan. Now, of course, this also emphasizes the need for a broader participation in reassurance measures. And the good news is that we can declare from this meeting that all 28 allies contribute one way or the other to our reassurance measures. Now, you ask me what would be desirable when it comes to future contributions. I could point to participation in exercises. We have just seen a quite broad participation in an exercise, Steadfast Javelin, which took place in Estonia. It started as a national initiative, actually, but it was turned into a NATO-led exercise with the participation of, I think, 8 allies, participation of 6,000 troops. Now, I foresee that we will step up the number of exercises in the future. So it will be quite demanding. And I would expect all allies to contribute one way or the other, because that is an essential part of being a member of a collective security alliance, that you can also contribute with assets when it comes to collective defense.
James.
Yes, Brooke Signer, Janes Defense. 2 related questions. What kind of pre-positioning assets and supplies are we talking about? And secondly, did you and the Allies discuss the notion of pre-positioning along NATO's eastern frontier with Russia during the NRC meeting on Monday? And did both sides agree that this complements or contravenes the spirit of the 1997 Founding Act? Thank you.
Firstly, at this stage, I'm not going into details on which pre-positioning we could think of. But in general, this is about preparing possible reinforcements if needed. And to prepare for reinforcements, we need pre-positioning of equipment and supplies. We need to prepare infrastructure. We need designation of bases, just to mention some elements in better preparedness for reinforcements. And let me emphasize that all the steps we are going to take will be possible to realize within the framework of the NATO-Russia Founding Act from 1997.
Wall Street Journal.
Mr. Secretary General, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about this comprehensive package that you mentioned that's being offered to Ukraine with training of security forces and so forth. Can you tell us a little bit more about exactly what that's going to entail and when it might begin?
Well, we are still working on this package, and I would expect foreign ministers to take decisions when they meet by the end of this month. But in general terms, it is about assisting Ukraine in defense reforms and modernization of their armed forces, including building a better military capacity. I'm also encouraged that in addition to NATO assistance to Ukraine within the partnership between NATO as an alliance and Ukraine, individual allies came forward with bilateral contributions, advisory assistance, technical assistance, and also offering material support. So all in all, you will see a very strong commitment from NATO and NATO allies to help and support Ukraine. But final decisions on the package will be taken when foreign ministers meet by the end of this month.
NHK.
Japanese newspaper, Daily News, Mainichi. My name is Saito. I want to ask about NATO-Russia Founding Act. You said you realize all measures in the framework of this NATO-Russia Founding Act, but Russia clearly broke this promise, and namely they annexed Crimea. So what is the reason why you respect this Founding Act? What is the logic? Could you tell me?
You are quite right in pointing to the fact that Russia is in a blatant breach of the fundamental principles of the NATO-Russia Founding Act from 1997, including having violated the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine. But we stick to the NATO-Russia Founding Act because NATO allies want strongly a rules-based international security system. And we do believe that the fundamental principles in the NATO-Russia Founding Act serve the overall security of the Euro-Atlantic area. So we stick to words and principles of the NATO-Russia Founding Act, and we do believe that all the measures we are prepared to take to ensure effective defense and protection of our allies can be taken within the existing NATO-Russia Founding Act.
Slovak media.
Thank you, Andrej Macek, Slovakia, Daily Pravda. Regarding defense budget, as you said, President Komorowski just announced that there will be an increase in budget of defense budget to 2% of GDP. Do you have also signals from the other countries that are willing to increase budget? Also, because you just visited Slovakia, and our Prime Minister basically told you that we are not going to do that. So, do you really want to push some more reluctant ally to increase the defense budget? Thank you.
I would say it's not a 100% accurate description of the statement of, yeah, okay, basically, yes. But, I sense there is a bit more flexibility in his statements. But overall, yes, I have heard other signals of willingness to increase defense spending. I could refer to, for instance, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania. They have taken, actually, political decisions to gradually move towards the 2% benchmark. I would expect other nations to follow. Of course, this is not easy. I do realize that because many governments are still struggling to cut deficits, and that's also important. But the good news is that we are now seeing, I would say, recovery of the economy, at least in many countries. So I would encourage nations to look into how they can reverse the trend, stop cuts, and gradually increase defense spending as the economies recover. This will be a topic, an important topic, to be discussed at the summit in Wales. So I would expect decisions on that to be taken at the summit, some commitments to be made at the summit in Wales. It remains to be seen exactly how, but we had a first very important discussion today. That discussion will continue in our preparations for the summit in Wales. And it's clear we cannot continue the current trend. I mean, during the last 5 years, Russia has increased its defense spending by 50%, while NATO countries have decreased their defense spending by 20%. It's unsustainable. And what we have witnessed in Ukraine is a wake-up call. And based on that, political leaders, in particular in Europe, should review their defense spending.
Last question, ABC from Spain.
Enrique Cerveto from the Spanish newspaper ABC. You say that NATO is preparing for a long-term implication in this crisis. How long do you mean? This is a decade long of new Cold War. And the second question, is the old idea of anti-missile defense system included in this new discussion, in this new in the present crisis of Ukraine?
First of all, let me stress that our missile defense plans should not be seen in the context of Ukraine. We started building the NATO missile defense system long before we saw the Ukraine crisis. And this has nothing to do, actually, with Ukraine. The aim of building a NATO missile defense system is to protect our populations against missile attacks originating from outside the Euro-Atlantic area. We have made that clear right from the outset. In other words, we will continue building our missile defense system because it's still relevant, irrespective on the ongoing events in Ukraine, and events in Ukraine will not change in any way these plans because they are not linked to the situation in Ukraine. So we continue according to our plan, which is to provide full coverage by 2018. Sorry, yeah?
Your expression of long-term implication.
I forgot. Well, you also asked me whether this is a kind of a new Cold War. No, I wouldn't consider this a new Cold War. The Cold War was characterized by a block of communist dictatorships led by the Soviet Union, with a strong basis in Europe, but with countries across the globe belonging to that camp. That was an ideological struggle. And that's not what we're witnessing right now. On the contrary, I would say Russia seems to be quite isolated globally. You will recall the vote on Ukraine in the UN General Assembly, and only a very, very few countries supported Russia. So we are not witnessing what we saw during the Cold War. But of course, you may say that what we have seen of a more assertive Russian attitude, not to speak about the illegal Russian actions in Ukraine, remind us of old-fashioned Cold War thinking. That's quite another thing. Well, we are prepared to take measures that are necessary to ensure effective defense and protection of all allies for as long as necessary. And I think that's what we can say at this stage. Clearly, the Russian actions have created a dramatically changed security situation in Europe. We don't know for how long, and that's why I used the term that we will do what is necessary for as long as necessary.
Thank you very much indeed. Have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow.